I think I've seen it estimated somewhere that somewhere between 80 and 100 billion people have existed since the beginning of time. Maybe Count Orlok from Nosferatu here told it to me. Anyway, let's pretend we can go way back to the beginning of time and identify the first person that ever existed by his or her ultimate belief system, whether or not he or she believed in the divine. This person would be identified with a P if he or she was a believer, and a C otherwise. Now, let's go to the second person ever and mark them with a P or C also. Furthermore, if this person was more intelligent than the person before them, put them on the right of the previous person, and if this person was less intelligent, put them on the left. We do the same with the third person. Identify them with a P or C, and put them to the right of whoever they are smarter than, and to the left of whoever they are less smart than. In this arbitrary example, the third person ever was a believer, and was smarter than the first person, who was also a believer. But the third person was less smart than the second person, who was not a believer. If we keep repeating this process as we go through chronological time, we end up with a whole series of P's and C's, arranged in such an order where the more intelligent P's and C's are on the right of the series, and the less intelligent are on the left of the series. So we have an interesting form of an IQ scale here, where each person has their own unique place on the scale. It's my hypothesis that as the number of humans on Earth continues to increase, the distribution of P's and C's in this scenario will become more and more similar to the distribution of prime and composite numbers among each other, where the P's could be compared to the prime numbers and the C's could be compared to the composites. Similar can mean a lot of things, so I want to emphasize that I really mean these two main ideas in particular. First, the higher a person's IQ gets, the less likely they'll be a believer. It is analogous to the primes becoming more rare as you move into higher and higher whole numbers. Second, there is never a point where after a certain IQ level is reached, all people with higher IQs are going to be non-believers. It is analogous to the fact that there are infinitely many primes. We never reach a point where every number after a certain whole number is composite. So as we go further and further to the right of the P and C distribution, P's will become more rare, but just when you think they'll never show up again, another is going to pop up. This is a hypothesis in every sense of the word, because there is no indication of proof whatsoever. Someone could probably argue that the non-believers are represented by the prime numbers, or there is a certain IQ point where an unwavering opinion on the divine will be reached, and I couldn't say or do anything about their argument. Unlike the strange butler apparition in The Shining that liked to correct things. In any case, I'll call that the prime number distribution hypothesis of IQ and religion, and see where it goes from there.